In the crystalline depths of the Galactic Council's Grand Chamber, Ambassador Sarah Chen stood before the Assembly of Worlds, her expression betraying none of the tension coursing through her body. The massive chamber, carved from living crystal that amplified and carried sound perfectly, held representatives from over 300 species. Today, they would all hear humanity's voice. The discovery her team had made on Europa changed everything. They'd found evidence of deliberate suppression, ancient technologies buried in ice, warning beacons silenced, and most damning of all, proof that the Council had known about Earth long before their official first contact. Honored representatives, Sarah began, her voice clear and steady. For 3 centuries, humanity has been a loyal member of this council. We've contributed to the galactic community, shared our innovations, and respected the established protocols. Today, that changes. A murmur rippled through the chamber. High Counselor Zaxtal, their crystalline form refracting light in patterns of concern, leaned forward. Ambassador Chen, please consider your next words carefully. Sarah smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. She activated her neural link, projecting the Europa findings onto the chamber's holographic display. 3 weeks ago, we discovered this. The image showed a massive structure, perfectly preserved in Europa's ice, a beacon array dating back 50,000 years. This beacon was designed to warn developing civilizations about a cyclical threat, the Void Cascade, a phenomenon that threatens this entire galaxy every 70,000 years. The Council didn't just know about this threat. They actively suppressed this information. They disabled these beacons across thousands of worlds, including Earth. The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Several of the younger species representatives began frantically accessing their data terminals. Sarah continued, her voice cutting through the chaos. We've cross-referenced this discovery with our deep space observations. The Void Cascade isn't just real, it's approaching. Within the next century, this galaxy will face an extinction-level event. And the Council's response? She paused, letting her gaze sweep across the chamber. To hide, to suppress, to pretend. High Counselor Zaxtal's crystalline surface flickered with defensive patterns. Ambassador, these accusations are baseless. The Council has maintained peace and stability for millennia. By suppressing innovation, by hiding threats, by keeping younger species dependent on your approved technologies. Sarah's voice carried a sharp edge. We found more than just the beacon. We found evidence of deliberate technological suppression across hundreds of worlds. The Council hasn't been maintaining peace, it's been maintaining control. The human delegation behind Sarah moved with practiced precision, distributing data packets to every representative. What you're receiving now is proof, not just of the beacon's existence, but of a systematic campaign to keep humanity and other young species from reaching their full potential. Sarah stepped closer to the center of the chamber, her next words measured and clear. But humanity has never been good at staying in assigned boxes. While we played by your public rules, we've been preparing. Every innovation we've shared with the Council has been a carefully selected fraction of our actual capabilities. Every technology we've integrated into our systems has been studied, improved, and often completely reimagined. The chamber grew deathly quiet as the implications sank in. Sarah continued, her voice now carrying a note of finality. As of this moment, humanity is withdrawing from the Galactic Council. We will not be controlled. We will not be suppressed. And we will not stand idle while this galaxy faces extinction because of your fear of change. Zaxtal's form crystallized in alarm. You cannot simply withdraw. The protocols, the treaties, are based on the assumption that you hold all the power. Sarah interrupted. That assumption is incorrect. She activated another neural command, and throughout the chamber, the advanced Council monitoring systems, supposedly impossible to bypass, shifted and changed, revealing their true nature as human technology, disguised and integrated over decades. For centuries, you've underestimated humanity's capacity for innovation and adaptation. You assumed we were sharing all our advances, following all your rules. We weren't. We were preparing, not for conflict, but for this moment. The moment when the truth would come out, and choices would have to be made. The chamber's security systems, now revealed as human technology, created a protective barrier around the human delegation. Sarah's final words echoed through the stunned silence. We're not asking permission to leave. We're not negotiating. We're giving you a choice. Adapt or become obsolete. The void cascade is coming, and humanity will face it, with or without the council. As she turned to leave, the chamber erupted into chaos. But Sarah didn't look back. Behind her, the human delegation moved with calm precision. They had trained for this day, prepared for every contingency. As they walked out of the chamber, their actions set in motion events that would reshape the galaxy. In orbit above, the human fleet, far larger and more advanced than anything the Council had been allowed to see, emerged from its stealth configurations, not as a threat, but as a statement. Humanity had outgrown its constraints. The breaking point had arrived, and with it, the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Helena Drake stood on the bridge of the TSS Endeavour, watching as the largest coordinated fleet movement in human history unfolded across her holographic display. Operation Starbridge, decades in the planning, was finally in motion. "Status report," she commanded, her voice steady despite the historic gravity of the moment. All colonial networks successfully transitioning to independent systems, her XO, Commander Jackson, reported. Quantum encryption protocols active. The Council's monitoring systems are now completely blind to our movements. The display showed thousands of ships across Council space, their positions marked by subtle blue indicators. These weren't just military vessels. They were cargo ships, research stations, and civilian transports, all moving with precise coordination. Each had a role in this intricate dance of dissolution. "Message from Europa Research Station," the communications officer announced. "Project Phoenix is complete. All evidence has been secured, and the facility is beginning its transformation sequence." Helena allowed herself a small smile. The Council would soon discover that human facilities didn't just shut down, they evolved. Every research station, every trading post, every diplomatic mission had been designed with this day in mind. Some would simply disappear, leaving no trace. Others would transform into automated beacons, collecting data about the approaching void cascade. A few would become something else entirely. "Admiral," Jackson said quietly, "we're receiving the first panic signals from Council worlds. Their quantum communication network is destabilizing." Of course it was. The Council had never realized that their precious quantum network had been subtly supported by human technology for the past 50 years. As humanity withdrew, those hidden supports were coming down. "Launch the replacement satellites for independent worlds," Helena ordered. "Any civilization that wants to maintain communications outside Council control will have the means to do so." The holographic display shifted, showing the status of human colonies and settlements. Green indicators blinked across the map as each world activated its hidden defenses, technologies the Council had never suspected existed. Shield systems far beyond anything officially shared with the galactic community hummed to life, securing human space against any potential retaliation. "Message from Ambassador Chen," the comm officer reported. "The diplomatic corps has completed their withdrawal from all Council facilities. She says, and I quote, 'Let them chew on that.'" A quiet chuckle rippled through the bridge crew. Sarah Chen's dramatic exit from the Council chamber had been just the beginning. Now, the true scope of humanity's preparation was becoming clear. "Sir," the sensor officer called out, detecting multiple Council peacekeeping fleets moving to intercept our outer colonies. Helena nodded, unsurprised. "Activate protocol mirror." Across human space, another layer of hidden technology revealed itself. The Council ships suddenly found their weapon systems unresponsive. Failsafes built into the advanced technology humanity had sold them over the years finally activating. "They're pulling back." the sensor officer reported, a note of satisfaction in his voice. Their targeting systems won't even acknowledge our ships as valid targets. Send the automated message to all Council military vessels, Helena ordered. Let them know their weapons will remain inactive for non-combat functions only. We're not here to fight, just to ensure they don't make any rash decisions. On the display, more changes were spreading across Council space. The advanced medical facilities humanity had established were transferring to local control, their systems simplified but functional. Trade networks were reorganizing, bypassing Council restrictions. And in the deep black between stars, hidden quantum sensors activated, beginning their watch for signs of the approaching void cascade. Message from Terra Prime, Jackson announced. Operation Starbridge is entering Phase 2. All non-essential personnel have been evacuated from Council space. Research teams report 100% data retrieval and system purge completion. Helena moved to the center of the bridge, watching as humanity's ships continued their precise withdrawal. They weren't running away. They were advancing on their own terms, leaving behind a carefully dismantled web of influence and control. Admiral, the science officer spoke up, we're detecting significant technological degradation in Council systems. Their attempts to compensate for our withdrawal are, well, they're making it worse. As expected, Helena replied. They've relied on our innovations for so long, they've forgotten how their original systems worked. Send out the technical package to the independent worlds. They'll need it to maintain stability. The exodus continued, hour by hour, each movement precisely calculated. Human ships vanished into newly revealed jump points, using drive systems far beyond Council understanding. Research stations folded into quantum space, leaving behind only encrypted messages for those wise enough to look for them. Final report from Deep Space Monitoring, Jackson said. The void cascade's approach is accelerating. Early predictions were too conservative. We have less than 50 years, not a century. Helena's expression hardened. Then we don't have time to waste on Council politics. Send the final message to all human vessels. Operation Starbridge is now entering Phase 3. We're not just leaving the Council. We're going to save the galaxy, whether they like it or not. As the Endeavor prepared to jump to its new coordinates, Helena watched the last pieces of humanity's presence in Council space dissolve away. They had hidden in plain sight for so long, playing the role of the eager young species while preparing for this moment. The Council thought humanity was running away. Soon, they would realize that humanity was running toward something. Toward a future they had seen coming. Toward a threat they had prepared for. Toward a destiny that no amount of Council control could prevent. The silent exodus was complete. The real work was about to begin. High Counselor Zaxtel's crystalline form pulsed with distress patterns as they reviewed the latest reports flooding the Council's emergency session. 1 week after humanity's departure, the galaxy was experiencing systemic failures that no one had anticipated. The Meridian Medical Center on Proxima II has lost 40% of its functional capacity, reported Representative Thex of the Healing Worlds Coalition. The avian alien's feathers were ruffled in agitation. We've discovered that critical systems we thought were based on standard Council technology were actually hybrid designs. Without the human components, they're failing. The same is happening across all sectors, added Trade Minister Vorn, their gelatinous form rippling with anxiety. Transportation networks, communication systems, even basic infrastructure. Humanity's influence was far more extensive than we realized. In the great port city of New Singapore on the trade world of Axis Prime, Captain Kira Patil of the independent merchant vessels Star Wanderer watched chaos unfold. She had chosen to remain in Council space when the exodus began, one of the few humans who had. Now she understood why her government had tried so hard to convince everyone to leave. They're calling for any human engineers, her first mate, a young Nexian named Czar, reported, offering ridiculous sums for anyone who can repair the quantum drives. Kira shook her head. They still don't understand. It's not about having human engineers. It's about the technology itself. Humanity didn't just maintain these systems. We redesigned them from the ground up. What they're seeing now is what happens when you remove the foundation and try to keep the building standing. Across council space, younger species were watching and learning. The Nexians, the Vril, the Terethi, species that had joined the council in the past century, were seeing firsthand the price of technological dependency. On the Nexian homeworld, Science Director Ixel presented her findings to the Planetary Council. Humanity didn't just advance beyond council technology, she explained, her bioluminescent patterns showing excitement. They fundamentally reinvented it. Look at this. She displayed a hologram of what appeared to be a standard council power core. This is what we thought we were using. But when we examined it at the quantum level, the hologram zoomed in, revealing an intricate network of modifications. They built entirely new systems within the framework of old ones. It's brilliant, and it means everything we thought we knew about council technology is wrong. In the Galactic Council chamber, the crisis deepened. Representative Mira of the Commerce Worlds was speaking, her holographic form flickering with barely contained panic. The trading networks are collapsing. Humanity's quantum encryption protocols were the only thing keeping our data secure. Without them, we're seeing massive fraud, data theft, and market manipulation. Then we'll create new protocols, snapped Elder Representative Kull, his ancient form radiating irritation. We maintained order for millennia before humans arrived. Did we? The quiet question came from Representative Lan of the Vrel, one of the youngest council members. The reptiloid scales shifted in thoughtful patterns, or did we just maintain stagnation? In the depths of council archives, researcher Dr. Yen Wei, another human who had chosen to stay, made a discovery that would shatter the council's foundations even further. She accessed records that humanity's quantum processors had been quietly decrypting for years, records the council thought were safely locked away. The Void Cascade, she whispered, reading through the ancient data. They knew. They've always known. Every 70,000 years. And their solution was to hide, to suppress, to pretend it wasn't real. She transmitted her findings through the new independent network humanity had left behind, bypassing council controls. Within hours, the information spread across the younger species worlds. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. On the Terethi homeworld, the ruling council convened an emergency session. Humanity didn't just leave, their high speaker declared. They tried to warn us. They tried to prepare us. And the council. The chamber erupted in angry clicks and whistles. Back in the council chamber, Zaxtel faced a growing rebellion. The younger species were demanding answers, demanding change, demanding the right to pursue their own technological development. You don't understand. Zaxtel's crystalline form resonated with frustration. Unrestricted technological advancement leads to chaos, to war, to solutions, interrupted Representative Lan. To progress, to survival. The Vrol representative scales had taken on the deep blue of decisive action. Humanity showed us another way. They proved we can advance without destroying ourselves. They proved the Council's fears were wrong. In the port on Axis Prime, Kira Petal received a transmission from Earth. Her government was offering safe passage to any species that wanted to pursue independent development, away from Council restrictions. As she watched, similar offers were being broadcast across Council space. The ripples are becoming waves, Czar observed, watching ships from younger species beginning to break away from Council ports. No, Kira corrected, a smile playing at her lips. The ripples became waves a long time ago. What you're seeing now is the tide coming in. In the council chamber, as another emergency session dissolved into chaos, a message appeared on every display screen. It was brief, but its impact was seismic. To all species of the galaxy, the Void Cascade approaches. Humanity stands ready to share true knowledge, true technology, true progress with any who wish to face this threat as equals, not subjects. The future belongs to those brave enough to embrace it. The message was signed simply, Ambassador Sarah Chen, Human Independent Alliance. The galaxy was changing. The ripples of humanity's departure had become a tsunami of transformation, and in the darkness between the stars, the first signs of the void cascade were appearing, proving that humanity had been right all along. Time was running out for those who clung to the old ways. The question was no longer whether the Council would change, but whether they would change in time. On the newly established Haven Station, floating in neutral space between Council territory and human-controlled regions, Ambassador Sarah Chen prepared to make history once again. Representatives from 27 species had gathered here, each having broken away from Council control in the month since humanity's departure. The station itself was a testament to human innovation, constructed in mere days using quantum fabrication technology that the Council had never dreamed possible. Its crystalline spires and flowing architecture incorporated the aesthetic traditions of all member species, creating something entirely new. The latest data from the Void Cascade Monitoring Network, Dr. Marcus Wong reported, his holographic display showing a pattern of approaching disturbances in spacetime. The Council's models were wrong. We have 38 years, not 50. Sarah nodded, studying the data. Around the conference table, representatives from the younger species leaned forward, their various sensory organs focused on the display. None showed fear, only determination. That's why we're here, Sarah began, her voice carrying across the chamber. Not just to break away from Council restrictions, but to face this threat together, as equals. Ixel of the Nexians, her bioluminescent patterns showing agreement, spoke up. When humanity revealed the truth about Council suppression, many thought you were abandoning us. Now we understand. You were forcing us to grow. The Council's way would have doomed us all, added Representative Lan of the Vrail, scales shifting in thoughtful patterns. They would have us hide in our shells while the galaxy burns. Humanity showed us another path. In orbit around Haven Station, a new kind of fleet was assembling. Ships of various designs, some Council standard, others showing signs of rapid modification and improvement, moved in careful formation. Admiral Helena Drake, observing from the TSS Endeavour, couldn't help but feel pride in what was unfolding. The Nexians have already adapted our quantum shield technology to their biological ships, Commander Jackson reported. The Vrel have integrated their crystalline computing with our AI systems. The Terathi. Well, you need to see this yourself. The main display showed a Terathi vessel performing what should have been impossible, phasing through spacetime using a hybrid of their native technology and human quantum principles. In 3 weeks, they had achieved what the Council had deemed too dangerous to attempt in 1,000 years. Back in the conference chamber, Sarah activated a secure quantum channel, displaying a massive engineering project taking shape in human space. This is Project Bulwark, she announced, a network of quantum barriers designed to redirect the void cascade. But it will take the combined efforts of all our species to complete it in time. The Council would never approve such a project, noted Kettle, a crystalline being from a species that had been among the first to break away. They would call it too risky, too ambitious. The Council, Sarah replied with a slight smile, is no longer relevant to our future. Reports were coming in from across the galaxy. Council authority was crumbling as more species saw the success of the Independent Alliance. The younger races were leading the charge, but even some older species were beginning to question millennia of stagnation. In deep space, automated beacons left behind by humanity continued to gather data about the approaching void cascade. Each piece of information was shared freely through the Alliance network, allowing all member species to contribute to the solution. We've detected unusual quantum signatures from the cascade, Dr. Wong reported, highlighting patterns in the data. It's not just a natural phenomenon. There are signs of artificial manipulation dating back millions of years. The revelation sent murmurs through the chamber. Sarah exchanged glances with Admiral Drake, who had joined the session via quantum link. They had suspected this, but confirmation changed everything. Then we're not just fighting chaos, Lan observed, his scales taking on the deep blue of revelation. We're dealing with something that was created, perhaps as a weapon or a test. Something the Council has known about but chosen to ignore. Which means it can be understood, Ixal added, her bioluminescence pulsing with excitement. And if it can be understood, it can be stopped. Sarah finished. Not just delayed or avoided, but permanently neutralized. That's what the Council never understood. Running from a problem doesn't solve it. Sometimes you have to stand and fight. The conference chamber hummed with energy as representatives began sharing ideas, combining technologies, proposing solutions that would have been forbidden under Council rule. This was what humanity had hoped for, not just independence, but true collaboration. Admiral Drake's hologram smiled as she watched the exchange. They're surpassing our expectations, she noted quietly to Sarah. The Nexians have already improved our quantum shield design by 40%. The Vrel's crystalline computing could revolutionize our AI systems. Because we're not holding them back, Sarah replied. We're not demanding they advance at our pace or follow our methods. We're just giving them the freedom to grow. Above Haven Station, more ships arrived daily. Refugees from Council space, scientists seeking freedom to research, species ready to join the Alliance. Each brought new perspectives, new technologies, new possibilities. The new horizons were expanding faster than anyone had predicted, but time was still their enemy. The Void Cascade was approaching, and with it the ultimate test of their choice to break away from Council control. Sarah looked around the chamber at the diverse gathering of species, all working together with an urgency and purpose that the Council had suppressed for millennia. We chose this path, she said softly, not just for ourselves, but for all who dare to imagine a different future. The galaxy was changing. The question was no longer whether the Alliance would succeed, but how many they could save when the Cascade finally arrived. The Void Cascade arrived 3 years ahead of even humanity's revised predictions. High Counselor Zaxtel stood in the Council's Grand Chamber, watching as the quantum distortions began tearing apart the outer sectors of Council space. Their crystalline form reflected the emergency broadcasts flooding in from dozens of worlds. The containment protocols are failing, reported the Science Minister, their hologram flickering as quantum interference grew stronger. We're losing entire systems. The Council chamber, once a symbol of unchanging power, now felt like a tomb. Half the seats stood empty, their occupants having fled to join the Human Independent Alliance. Those who remained were facing the consequences of millennia of suppression and denial. In Alliance space, a different scene was unfolding. The quantum barrier network of Project Bulwark hummed with energy, its massive arrays of technology from a dozen species working in harmony. Admiral Helena Drake stood on the bridge of the TSS Endeavour, now upgraded with innovations from 3 different Alliance species. Barrier network at full power, reported Commander Jackson. The Nexian bioquantum interfaces are performing beyond specifications. The Vrel crystal matrices are stable. Status of the evacuation? Helena asked, watching as the Cascade's front approached their defensive line. Last Council refugee ships are clearing the safety zone now. Sarah Chen's voice came through the quantum link. She was coordinating from Haven Station, managing the largest refugee operation in galactic history. Even some of the elder races are running to us now. Funny how an extinction-level event changes perspectives. The Void Cascade manifested as a wall of twisted spacetime, reality itself buckling under forces that had been artificially manipulated millions of years ago. But where it met the Alliance barrier network, something unexpected happened. Admiral, Dr. Wong's excitement was clear even through the quantum static. The Terathi were right. The Cascade isn't just destructive energy. It's information. Massive amounts of it. The patterns, they're not random at all. On Haven Station, Sarah watched as data flooded their quantum networks. The combined processing power of human eye, Vrel crystals, and Nexian biocomputers began decoding what they were seeing. It's a test, she breathed, understanding dawning. No, it's more than that. It's a filter. Back in the council chamber, reality itself seemed to be unraveling. The ancient defensive systems, relied upon for so long, were useless against the cascade. Zaxtal watched as their carefully maintained order crumbled. "Incoming transmission," announced the chamber's eye. From the Alliance. Sarah Chen's hologram appeared in the center of the chamber, her expression both stern and compassionate. "The Void Cascade isn't a natural disaster," she announced without preamble. "It's an ancient system designed to test civilizations, to force them to either advance or perish. Your predecessors knew this, didn't they?" Zaxtal's crystalline form pulsed with patterns of shame and resignation. "The First Council. They found records. The cascade comes to test if species are ready to advance beyond their current level of existence. Those who can't adapt die." Sarah finished. "Like the civilizations that came before. The ones whose ruins we found scattered across the galaxy. The ones whose warnings you ignored." Through the quantum link, Admiral Drake's voice carried urgent news. "The barrier network isn't just holding back the cascade. It's interfacing with it. The Nexians say it's trying to communicate. Across Alliance space, the combined technologies of dozens of species worked together, doing what the Council had feared to attempt for millennia. They weren't just surviving the cascade. They were understanding it, integrating with it, proving they were ready for the next step in galactic evolution. "You have a choice," Sarah told the remaining council members. "Join us. Not as leaders or controllers, but as equals. Bring your knowledge, your experience, your wisdom, but be ready to learn and grow. The age of stagnation is over." The cascade's energy shifted, responding to the Alliance's efforts. Where it touched their barrier network, space itself began to transform. New forms of physics, new possibilities, new frontiers opened before them. "Multiple quantum signatures detected," reported Commander Jackson. "Similar to our jump points, but more. Like doors to places we never imagined could exist." On Haven Station, representatives of the Alliance watched in awe as their combined achievements bore fruit. The Void Cascade wasn't destroying their civilization. It was transforming it, offering access to technologies and understandings that none of them could have achieved alone. "This is what was possible all along," Sarah said, addressing both the Alliance and Council chambers. "Not just survival, but evolution. Not just existence, but transcendence. This is what happens when we face our challenges together, when we lift each other up instead of holding each other back." In the Council chamber, Zaxtal made their choice. "The Council accepts your offer," they said, their crystalline form showing patterns of new growth for the first time in centuries. "We were wrong to fear change, wrong to suppress progress, wrong to—" "The past is past," Sarah interrupted gently. "What matters is what we do now together." The Void Cascade continued its passage through the galaxy, but now it met not fear and hiding, but understanding and adaptation. Where it touched Alliance space, it left behind not destruction but transformation. New physics, new dimensions, new possibilities opened before them. Admiral Drake watched from the Endeavor as the combined fleet of Alliance ships, now including vessels from former Council worlds, began exploring these new frontiers. "Humanity's greatest strength," she mused, "was never our technology or our innovation. It was our ability to inspire others to dream bigger than their fears." The dawn of change had arrived, not as an ending, but as a beginning. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly as it should be. In the depths of space, the ancient mechanisms of the Void Cascade continued their purpose, not as harbingers of destruction, but as catalysts for growth. They had found, at last, a civilization ready to take the next step. Not one species alone, but many working together, proving that the greatest advances come not from isolation and control, but from cooperation and freedom. The future had arrived, and it was more magnificent than anyone had dared to dream.